Hi everyone, from this video we are starting the first unit of e-payment systems named eCash and virtual money. The first topic includes of electronic data interchange, which is called as EDI, is an computer to computer exchange of business documents in a standard electronic format between the business partners. By moving from a paper based exchange of business document, one can transfer the electronic document, which reduces the cost, increases process speed, reduces errors, and improve relation between these business partners. And it is very important because EDI replaces the postal mail, fax, and email. The email is also involved with the human action. That means he prepares and sends the email for an order or purchase of an goods from the other business person. Here he may make the process slow or raise some errors in the documentation, but in the EDI documents the flow of the documents are pre-designed and set it in a specific format, which will have no chance of doing errors when we enter the EDI format correctly on. Here we can observe the documents transaction or transfer between the buyers and sellers in the paper mode and the EDS process also. Here first the buyer generates the purchase order and faxes or mails to the supplier. He orders the supplier, enters the buyer purchase order in his internal systems and generates invoices, and again he will forward the invoices to the buyer to enter into his internal systems and start the process of purchase order. But the below diagram shows that EDI process looks like no paper and no people involved. There will be two internal systems of buyer and seller, which will send the purchase order and which will resend the from the end of the supplier send his invoice. Here the next topic is EDI document exchange. The EDI document exchange includes of the business documents, standard format, and business partners. The documents of EDI will be include of many such as invoices, purchase orders, advance slips, customs documents, inventory documents, and the payment documents, etc. Here these all the documents are involved in the EDI document exchange. And the next one is standard format. Here a particular standard is required to understand the buyers and sellers data or the internal sources of their businesses. For example, English speaking person probably does not understand Japanese. In that way, the receiver's computer does not understand the company's specific format of the sender's format. So EDI describes the each piece of information with a particular standard format, which we need to enter as per the company's format. And the next one is business partners. Here the buyer and the seller are the business partners. That means if A sends a purchase order and the B supplies the goods, these two A and B are the business partners. And an EDI document comprises. What the EDI document includes will be discussed here. An EDI document is comprised of data elements, segments, and envelopes that are formatted according to the rules of particular EDI standards. That means we have discussed that every company have its own standard of purchase orders or invoices. This EDI document will be comprised of all these company related documents from both the ends, that means sender and the receiver. It can be also done from the compressed of data elements, segments and envelopes mentioned in the EDI language by that particular sender or receiver. EDI, next is working of EDI. EDI works in 3 steps: preparing the documents, translating the documents into EDI format, next is transmit the EDI documents to your partner. Here preparation the documents includes of human data entry via screens. That means for entering an purchase order, he need to take the data or export the data from the spreadsheets or databases that will be electronically reports in data files, and these are enhanced in an automatic application that will create an automatic output by giving the data in the form of translation into EDI standards. And the last one is purchasing application software that has built in the interface for EDI files. Here the data will be entered, or the purchase orders will be entered by the individual or the buyer from the spreadsheets and the databases, and these files are, or these data are created as or reported in the files, which will enter this same into the applications automatically in a EDI standards. That helps in understanding the seller in the same way. And the last one is, these can be done, this translation of reports into EDI standards can be made by the EDI software also, that is provided by the EDI service providers. That the next one is translate the documents into EDI format. The next step is to transfer this electronic data through translators softwares and convert your internal data formats into EDI standard formats. That is, we have discussed in the prepare the document to be sent, that will be deeply considered in this translate the document into EDI format, which have the translation software is available to suit the computing environment for that particular buyer or seller. The next one is connecting the or transmit your EDI documents to your buyer or to your business partners. Here, once the translated document is generated, we need to send or push the document to the receiver or the supplier. Here we can see the complete structure from the following diagram. That means here sending company have the data in internal formats, preparing the documentation to be sent. The next to the, that is EDI translator. The EDI translates the data into EDI formats and communicate the same to the receiver in the communication using the communication softwares. Here the EDI network service provider will be the middleman for receiving and sending data between these seller and buyer. Here in the same way, the receiving company will also have the data in internal formats that will receive the data from the suppliers, and that means he raises the invoices from the data received from EDI translators and sends the same data to the EDI data and communicates the same to the buyer through the communication software as a bridge of EDI service provider. And the next one is paper based versus EDI transaction process. Here the inventory system of EDI automatically notifies the buyer to place an order, or after querying an inventory system that what is the status of the stock. The buyer determines that an order needs to be created. The buyer enters the data on the screen of a purchasing system to create the order in the EDIs. But in coming to the paper based, he need to create the purchase order and enter in the sales order system, and he should be mail to the vendor. Then the vendor prints the or prepares the invoices and send the consignment along with the invoices. Then the buyer should enter it manually, as we discussed at the first diagram. The circle will be repeated. If the documents are handed by a person, there may be a delay. Even though the orders are being sent or purchase orders are being sent through the mail, the invoices should be generated and the consignment will be delivered with the invoices. But in EDIs, it will only intimate that your order has reached the limit to keep an purchase order. Here, for an example, I will tell the example of Metro or DMart, which is a large scale of business units having FMCGs. Here, the minimum stock should be maintained is 100 units and the maximum is 1000. If the sales has been done of 900 units and reaches the minimum stock of 100, the system notifies, or the EDI will notifies that your order has reached the purchase order level. Can you please raise the purchase order? This notification allows us to do the work fast, and the same will be forwarded to the seller and the seller systems also, that is EDI internal sources also of the seller will be generated the invoices automatically and forward the data to our internal sources, which helps the buyer to automatically enter the receivable goods or the amount payable to the supplier. And the next one is NEFT. It can be referred as National Electronic Funds Transfer. It is a countrywide payment system that facilitates one-to-one fund transfer. NEFT is a service provided by every bank which has a facility of NEFT enabled, permitted by the RBI. Under the NEFT payment, there is no lower limit, but as a certain limit was the 2 lakhs amount will be treated as a maximum limit and be called as the cap of NEFT. Here, above all the transactions amounted 2 lakhs should be considered as RTGS, but due to the lack of knowledge, the remitter or the sender will mention as the NEFT payment only. Here, the transaction will be deferred in the form of settlements. If he selects the NEFT, it will have an specific cooling period and settlements will be happened in hourly basis. But when he selects the RTGS, that means if he have the amount of above 2 lakhs, if he selects the RTGS, the payment will be conducted at the same minute. Here, the NEFT have its own advantages. That is, NEFT settlement systems is hourly basis. That means all the transaction happened in 1 hour or raised in 1 hour will be settled in the next hour. But in case of the RTGS, it will mentioned or transferred in the same minute only. And the various advantages of NEFT can be described as no physical appearance can be made to the bank, or any physical document need not to be produced in the bank, and it is an electronic transfer and cost effective. The credited amount will be received through the SMS, and if he have enabled the internet banking facility, the individual can himself transfer the NEFT amount to anyone from his workplace or home. These are the various advantages. And coming to the RTGS. RTGS refers to the real-time gross settlement. Here the gross settlements will be done at the real time. That means if we transfer the money in this minute, the beneficiary get the money at the next moment only. But in the case of NEFT, it will take an particular time period of 1 hour, because every batch will be cleared after 1 hour. But the RTGS transaction will be done in minute to minute. Here the about 2 lakhs will be treated as the RTGS amounts, which is transferred safely and securely to the receiver within the minutes, when compared to the NEFT. And the next one is, there is no maximum amount of cap in the RTGS. That means the minimum is 2 lakhs. He can transfer of 1 crore, 10 crore and large amounts also. It also does not need any demand draft or check or physical document to transfer the money. And here for both the RTGS and the NEFT, the particular fields are to be mentioned at the time of transferring of money. That is, the account number to be debited. That means from which account the amount should be debited, and name of the beneficiary, bank and branch to whom the amount should be credited, and its bank branch and its IFSC code, name of the beneficiary or the receiver's name, and the next one is account number of the receiver. These all should be intimated at the time of NEFT or RTGS transaction to have a successful transaction without any delay. And the next one is difference between NEFT and RTGS. Here NEFT and RTGS are both are online money transfer. There will be a small differences in the form of cooling period or settlements. Here the NEFT was introduced in 2005. The RTGS has been introduced in 2004 only. And coming to the NEFT settlements, in the NEFT used by the individual through his online, he should add the beneficiary. For activation of the beneficiary from the bank side, he need to wait for some time. That means basing on the bank, it might be 1.5 hour or 24 hours. But some banks, which are the commercial banks, are providing by adding the beneficiary from the next minute, he can transfer the money to the beneficiary in the form of NEFT. But after transferring the money, he should wait for reaching his settlement period. That means the settlements will be happened in each hour. The batch will be created for 1 hour series here. But in the case of RTGS, when adding the beneficiary and approving the beneficiary, the money can transfer within the minutes without any delay. And the business hours will be no difference between the RTGS and NEFT. Both will work from maximum of 8 AM to 7 PM in the business days, and exempted the second and fourth Saturdays and the public holidays. The both services will not be available in the public holidays or on Sundays and the bank holidays. And the which basis the NEFT and the RTGS are settled. Here RTGS is settled from 1 to 1, but NEFT is settled in deferred net settlement. From different beneficiaries will be deposited their amounts in a batch wise. Here, for example, the salaries of an organization can be credited at the same time for n number of employees, but in the form of RTGS, the salaries cannot be credited for in the same time for n number of members, because it is an 1 to 1 when compared to the NEFT. NEFT is an deferred net settlements. He can settle it for large number of people at a time. And the limit, as we discussed, there is no minimum limit for the NEFT, and the maximum will be 2 lakhs will be considered as the NEFT, and the RTGS will be minimum limit of 2 lakhs and maximum of no limit. Appropriate, the NEFT is appropriate for small value transaction, while the RTGS is appropriate for high value transaction. The process of NEFT will be slow when compared to the RTGS, and the RTGS process will be fast. And next, coming to the e-payment, also called as electronic payment. An e-payment system is a way of making transactions or paying for goods or services through an electronic medium without using a check or cash. Here, the electronic payment system has grown, increasing over the last decades due to growing spread of internet-based banking and shopping. That means we can see the rise of electronic payment systems and payment processing devices are increasing and improving the online payment transactions. Here, electronic payment methods can be done in the form of two methods, which includes of credit payment system and cash payment system. Credit payment system includes of a form of e-payment system which requires the use of card issued by a bank or financial institution to the cardholder by making the payment online without using the cash. And next one is e-wallet. It is a form of prepaid account where our financial data is stored, like debit and credit cards information, to make online transaction easily. For example, we can see the PhonePe. It will be, by registering it, it will ask us to add the bank details and the debit cards. We can make, without the physical card presentation, we can make the payments through the e-wallets. And the next one is smart card. It's a plastic card, also called as a chip card, which is having a microchip that can be loaded with funds to make transfers. For example, we can take our locality smart cards. It can be used for the public transportation system like metros, and recently we can see our local shopping mall in SRMT, in the food courts, they have introduced these type of smart cards which can be loaded the money and utilized at the same locality. And the next one is cash payment systems. It includes of debit cards, e-check and stored value card. The debit card are the ATM cards which can be utilized to pay the amount for purchasing of goods and services. And the next one is e-check. It is an electronic form of check replacing the physical form of checks. It means we can transfer the money from a bank account without having a check in the form of electronic check. And the next one is stored value card. A card with a certain another amount of money that can be used to perform the transaction in the issuer store. That means it is involved. It can be said that gift cards which can be used to purchase the goods of that particular issuer of a gift cards. And there are various advantages and disadvantages of this e-payment system. The advantages can be, it is easy to transfer money or make the payment for goods or services. It controls the expenses of customers. Easy to make payments from the website also, and reaching the more clients from all over the world, which results in more sales, more effective and efficient transactions. It is convenient to the customer by making the electronic payment. And payment gateways and payment providers of offer highly security to our e-payments. These are the various advantages of electronic payments, and disadvantages will be very minimum, that is these e-payments cannot be done without the access of internet. That means the need of internet access will be compulsory. This is one of the disadvantages. And the lack of anonymity, it means our personal data will be stored in the databases of the payment systems. These are the various disadvantages of e-payments. And in the next video we can discuss about the e-cash, that means electronic cash, its benefits, issues and securities of e-cash, and anonymous, traceable e-cash, untraceable e-cash, and virtual currency. And one of the type of virtual currency is about Bitcoin and its risks.